Hello again. This video is basically going to be discussing a prot pally and what they should stack as far as mitigation and other stats. For mitigation, you have dodge, parry, and block. You also have armor. A lot of people forget about armor because it's so just like in the background, and no people don't even look at how much armor something has. Generally, something of a higher item level will have more armor, but there are certain cases where like you have a cloak that has green for the armor, which means it's like different from what the item level would suggest. That has more armor than something of a higher item level, so it's so important to kind of look at that. As far as mitigation is concerned for a prot pally, mastery is going to be one of the things that you really, really want to stack, and I'll tell you why. The Divine Bulwark here, right, increases your chance to block or melee attacks by X%. Each point of mastery increases the block chance by an additional 2.25%. Now there's a conversion here. You start off with mastery rating. A certain amount of rating translates to a certain number of mastery points. Same thing with defense rating versus defense skill. The skill points came from the rating. The rating is based, the amount of rating per skill point or mastery point was dependent on your level. Every level it raised the number of points or number of rating points you needed in order to get 1 point of the actual skill. Same thing goes here. So if you look, my mastery is right here. I have 1766 mastery, and that adds 9.85 total skill points. So it looks like about 180 mastery rating to get 1 point. I think that's about right. So for each point, you get 2.25% additional chance to block an attack. And the whole chain continues. You go from rating to points to percent chance to block, and then once you do block, you have a percentage amount of damage that is reduced. So it's basically yes or no, do you block or not? If you do, then once it knows that you are blocking an attack, the amount of incoming damage is reduced by 31%. Well, 30.45%. I think it's rounding up to 31 for some reason there. And if you have your Holy Shield up, that adds 10%. So 30 or 41% damage incoming is blocked when you do block. So the more times that you block, the more opportunities, or the better your chance to block, the more often you're going to be reducing the incoming damage by 41%, right? So people have wondered, and I wondered this as well it was interesting when I did the math. I'm not going to show all the math, but I was thinking that maybe dodge would be a better thing to stack, because if you don't take any damage at all, then that's a better thing, right? But here's the problem. Let's say you have 25% dodge and parry, which completely mitigates, no damage incoming at all. The problem is, if you don't dodge or parry, all of the damage comes in, unless you block, right? Let's say you don't dodge, don't parry, don't block, all of that damage comes in. And if you're stacking dodge and parry, that's points away from mastery, so you have less of a chance to block. So what ends up happening is, let's say you have 20k damage coming in once a second, right? So it's like, okay, I dodge the first one, no damage. I get hit for the second one, 20k comes in. I get hit with the third one, 20k comes in. I dodge the fourth one, 0 damage. So it's either all or nothing, 0 damage or 20k, right? Well, what that does is it causes you to have big spikes in damage being dealt to you, and the healer has to throw bigger heals that cost more mana in order to get you back up to a reasonable amount of health. If you have more mastery, thus more chance to block 40% of it, well, now instead of taking 20k, you're taking 12. And you're consistently taking 12, 12, 12 rather than 0, 20, 20. And like a Resto Druid can give you hots and stuff. The 12k may not break, or may just be the amount of a power word shield versus overwhelming that power word shield, and having 8k seep through it, for example. So having a consistent amount of smaller amounts of damage coming in is better than having spiky large amounts of damage coming in. Overall, when all things are considered, you'd rather have 40% mitigation of a lot of attacks rather than the chance to either take all or nothing. And when you block, and consider this too, let's say you have 150k health, you've taken you're at taking about 60k, so you're like 90k health at the moment. All of a sudden the boss does a big attack, you block that, you're reducing that by 40%. Like let's say it's a 100k attack, you reduce that by 40k, you live. Do you really want to trust that you're going to dodge or parry such an attack where it's, if I don't dodge or parry it, I'm going to die. If I do dodge or parry it, yeah, I'm still at 90k health. Just as an example. I'm not saying that there's anything in the game that really does that kind of damage right now as it is, but it's all about modulating it, making it so that it's not so spiky. Instead of having rough, choppy waters with big old waves on the waters, you have a nice rippling sea of damage coming in rather than the choppy stuff. So it makes it easier on your healers and makes it so that you don't all of a sudden just get raffle-pwned and you're like, man, what the hell hit me? Well, I didn't dodge or parry it, so a huge hit came through, for example. So anyway, plus your chance to block. Remember, when you block an attack, you get 3% of your base mana, so you have more mana to do all your abilities, blah, blah, blah. So you want to be able to block more often. There's another reason as well. Dodge and parry suffer from diminishing returns. The number of points to get a certain amount of rating is not as valuable as you get higher and higher in dodge and parry, right? I mean, they're nice to have. It's nice to not have to take any damage, but you don't want to rely on it. Plus, the points that you spend in mastery don't have diminishing returns, whereas dodge and parry do. So your mastery points will be 100% effective towards getting you mitigation, whereas dodge and parry, the higher you get, the less it actually matters. Now, here's an interesting little thing. The reason I'm standing in front of the Reforger is I have this nifty little macro that says, pardon my guild chat here, Unhittable at 102.4%. I'm not sure if this is still valid or not. This is an old macro from Lich King days. But what it does is it takes the base 5% chance to be missed and adds it to the sum of your dodge, parry, and block. Right? So you got 45.62, 10.52, 13.71. Add those all together, plus 5%. I have a 74.85% chance to either block, dodge, parry, or get missed. Or not be hit at all. So they'll miss me 5% of the time, all that stuff. So this macro is nice to have. Now, I wanted to show you, there are some things that I've reforged. But let's just take this as an example, right? Lustrous Eye. It has 112 dodge, 112 mastery. I'm going to reforge some of the mastery into parry. Right? Now, I was at 74.85. Now I'm at 74.51. This demonstrates some of the diminishing returns. Same amount of points of mitigation, but it's a matter of what is more valuable to you. So just 44 points going from mastery to parry took me down 0.34%. So restore that, right? For this reason, you want mastery in everything you possibly can get. You will notice that, like, mastery is the yellow socket, right? So here I have a red socket. I probably would want to change this to a red/yellow gem instead of red/blue. The red-yellow would, the orange gem that would have like parry and mastery, right? In order to increase my mastery skill. It would bring my health down a little bit, but you don't need as much health if you're not getting hit or if you're mitigating the damage more. So that is one alteration I need to make to increase my mitigation. So here I have a yellow socket. I wanted a little extra stam. I could probably put a 20 mastery in here as well, or I'm sorry, a 40 mastery gem. This just happens to be one of the cuts I have on my jewel crafter. Blue gem. See now I'm going for the blue for the stamina. But I'm not going to do a 60 stam gem in the blue socket. It is no longer a viable strat for a tank to stack stam, stack stam, stack stam. When that was the strat, that was partially because of the dodge debuff that you got in Ice Crown, the minus 20 dodge percent. So, and it was also because in Lich King, the mana intensity of the healers was not there. Healers are not going and they found themselves overhealing by a ton. So instead of overhealing, why not just let the tank take the damage, and it's the same result. So stack the stam, etc. And plus, lore from TankSpot explained it thus: having extra health means that when you took one big hit, the next big hit would not kill you. So that was why it was important to stack stam in Lich King. But that is no longer the case. It is all about mitigation now, reducing the amount of damage coming in. This is why you only put the 30 stam, you put a purple or a blue, or I'm sorry, a purple or a green in a blue socket. So you get, the purple is 30 stam, 20 parry, or dodge, or expertise, or whatever. But I would rather have a green with the mastery and stam. This should go in every blue socket you have, is mastery and stam gems. Notice in my prismatic I have 40 mastery, not 60 stam. I got 20 parry, 20 mastery, 30 stam. So I'm going for the mastery every chance I get. Orange and green gems should probably be the only gems you ever have to use. Right? Let me see. Blue socket, 20 mastery, 30 stam. I got 50 mastery rating on my boots. I did 50 expertise on my hands just so I don't get dodged or parried so often. But 50 dodge on the bracers because there's no mastery there. You see my point here. This is a constant theme. Another prismatic socket, lots of mastery there.